And just loading, we need to speak.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'll leave everyone a minute to get seated and then we'll get started. So first of all, welcome everyone here at our media site event at Slush. My name is Sarah, I am from Future Media Hubs together with my colleague Liisa, and today we will firstly shortly introduce ourselves. Then there's an introduction from Susan from Stroke by Slush. Afterwards we have a panel on media and data. And then we have two startups pitching, Meeco and DataVillage. But let me start with who we are as Future Media Hubs. So we're an international network of media companies, both public and commercial. And we try to boost innovation by accelerating the media ecosystem. And we do this by bringing together the public and commercial stakeholders together around individual topics or around common topics, or individual partnerships. You can see it here, these are the topics we are handling. So one of these are scale-ups, the other ones are more on gaming, audio and video technology and the younger audiences, but I'll go through each of these separately in a second. So first of all, Kenny and myself, we are working for VRT, the Flemish public broadcaster in Belgium. We're located in Brussels, but we focus on the whole of Europe. Now, why do we invest in a larger network? So first of all, obviously, we want to put ourselves on the market as innovators. We also want to get inspired and help people be inspired as well. We want to set up partnerships and really collaborate together. And we also want to help startups and scale-ups grow within Europe and beyond. So we're an initiative of VRT in collaboration with RTBF, which is a French public broadcaster in Belgium. So we had these 4 different hubs that I showed. The first one is our Sunbox Hub. This is the one focusing on startups and scale-ups. So we are reaching out to all media organizations that want to work with startups and scale-ups. And we want to help them be inspired on how they can collaborate together and which are the best startups within Europe, for example. These are our current members. You must, if you're in the media world anyway, definitely know a few. We have, for example, BBC, but we also have France Télévisions here. We have NMA here somewhere, and some of the other partners as well. So feel free to reach out to them. So what is important within our group is that we by the fact that we are collaborating with so many people internationally, we have a very good idea of all of the best European startups that are focusing on media at the moment. So we keep track of them and we know who is doing what, who is working with whom. And so we try to introduce them to other media companies, and we also keep track of that so that we are sure that we are having enough impact. We also have 2 different Horizon 2020 projects. There is one Media Motor Europe. Clearly, I will explain it in a minute. And the other one is Stadium, which was in the earlier call, which is actually a group of stakeholders that is helping startups scale through different open calls, for example. And the second one is starting today. So if you missed that part, make sure that you check out the website stadium.eu. Our second group is our Video Snack Bar Hub. This is where we try to help content creators within the media companies to help with the newest video and audio technology. For example, we look at 5G, we look at Touch Designer, the newest cameras so that they are easy to take and very efficient. This is the group that is currently with us. We have, for example, also here Ule, we have Red Bull Media House and some other nice names as well. What we also do here is, for example, write tutorials, so we really want to help each other. This is a tutorial on how you can have a cloud-based multicam live production, how you can work with that, and we try to inspire others to work differently, more efficient, cheaper, and so on. Then we have our Open Labs Hub. This is where we focus on the younger audiences. So we try to tell the media companies within our groups why it is so important. Obviously, they know to reach them, but how they can collaborate more with younger audiences and how they can get these people involved. It's a smaller group for now. And you can see that the BBC Social, for example, they tell us then how they are reaching out through their digital platforms with BBC The Social. And what worked well, what didn't work well. So we always try to share our learnings with each other, our insights, so that we don't need to invent things too much on our own. We're all going through the same things anyhow. This is a last group. This is our game hub. Obviously here we're looking at all the gaming experts, and we try to exchange and collaborate on everything that is related to Twitch, Discord, virtual humans that we are building, and so on. So pretty cool. Larger group as well, very dynamic, so you can see it here. We have a lot of events, so every year we're here at Slush, so feel free already to mark it in your calendars for next year. But also at South by Southwest, we're also at different events of EBU, and so on. Some pictures here. So we are here at Slush always with the help of Flanders Investment and Trade, so some people are here, so say hello. And Annika, so thank you very much for always supporting us, it's much appreciated. As we're having a very short moment only here, feel free to reach out if you want to know more about who we are, if you want to be part of the network, or if you see other opportunities, then happy to have a discussion now or later on. And so I'm now happy to introduce you to Clelia, who will explain more about Media Motor Europe.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. So I'm Clelia, I'm a colleague of Sarah, I work for VRT, and I'm the project coordinator of Media Motor Europe, which is a Horizon 2020 project, so sponsored by the European Commission. And as Sarah mentioned, they have this Sunbox Hub where they collaborate with other media corporations or media accelerators around collaborating with startups. And from these initiatives, we saw that it was important, yes, to collaborate with startups, but sometimes startups are not ready for that. And so that's why we created this European coaching program together with other international partners. Some of them are part of the Sunbox Hub, such as Media City Bergen. But other international partners from Bulgaria, from Greece, from Portugal, sat down together and started building this coaching program. It's actually the first one that is really specifically focusing on media startups. So I'm going to explain a bit what was the goal and what we achieved, because we started in 2020. It's almost 2 years now that we have been coaching startups. And so I'll share some results and things we have been able to reach. So first I want to share the Consortium Partners we worked with. So as I said, we were several European partners across Europe. As you can see, so there's Media City Bergen, which is a cluster of media organizations across Norway. There's Termi Business Incubator in Greece. We also work together with Fast Track Action in Portugal. That is actually a network of investors, because that was also for us important to have that in our portfolio. And then with Cluster Sofia Knowledge City in Bulgaria, that is actually a cluster of media organizations, but also governmental institutions in Bulgaria. So you can see in the picture, we're a very fun team. So what was our why? So the aim of Media Motor Europe was really to nurture the high potential European deep tech startups. So we really wanted to focus on deep tech and those that are solving today most prominent media challenges. And so in our proposal, in the writing of this project, we identified some of the key challenges for the media industry, for the media ecosystem at the moment, such as fake news, such as data, that we're going to talk about today. These are some topics that we identified that we want to look for solutions for. So here you can see the challenges. There's also accessibility and data-driven media 4.0. Okay, so what did we offer with this program? The first thing was visibility of the startups. So through our ecosystem, as we're in the media, we're broadcasters, and they are they're building solutions for the media, so the media corporates are their clients. So the fact that we're coaching them, we're giving them visibility in our ecosystem. We also gave them some services, such as one-to-one coaching to help them really sharpen their go-to-market strategy, their value proposition. We also organized workshops on product development, on pitching, on communication, and we also give them possibility to engage with our network. So we organized pitching sessions where they could pitch, for example, in front of the Sunbox Hub. which are a bunch of interesting potential clients. And also, as I said, bring awareness around this coaching program and what we are building together with the startups. So here is a picture of one of the workshops that we did in the beginning. And as I said, so we started in 2020, and the program was meant to last until December of this year, so 2 years. And in the meantime, we were able to organize 3 support cycles that each lasted 6 months. So also 3 open calls, where at the end we coached 60 deep tech startups. Over 20 European countries were represented. We also engaged 18 coaches in the program that were coaching the startups. We did several workshops, a lot of coaching sessions, and these are individual one-to-one coaching sessions. That was very important to have that direct feedback. And we also engaged 25 media organizations. And that was really important for us because one of our KPIs was to give these startups client introductions. So not just get coaching, but really meet potential clients. So we organized one-to-one meetings. We really asked our media organizations, what are your challenges, what are you looking for? And then we organized matchmaking between corporates and startups, and they were able to connect. So here is a testimony of one startup that joined in the first cycle.
Hi, my name is Matilda Kong, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sertai, working with Diversity Tech. We're working to solve the challenges with equality and diversity in media content. And we applied for the Media Motor Europe Challenge because we thought it would be a great way to connect with the media companies around Europe and to get a lot of good coaching. And we've already started off so well with our coach Dado. I can really recommend the program so far. Hi.
So Matilda, as you see, she's talking about the fact that her solution is more around diversity tech. And it's not really part of the challenges that we identified in the beginning, but we think it's so relevant that we still allowed her to participate in the program. And we're really happy with the result because she got introductions in the Sunbox Hub. Now she's also part of a new program that we talked about, Stadium, where she's actually able to now further collaborate with media organizations such as VRT, who she's collaborating with, and really creating a product for that company. So that's a really nice result. I'm missing some slides here. Okay, I had some slides about client introduction. It's a lot more than 20. We actually were able to do around 256 client introductions and around 200 pitching opportunities for startups. So the goal was for the 60 startups to each have at least 3 good client introductions for which they feel that after the 6 months they could continue on and collaborate with this company. So that was a really good achievement for us. And then also, I will skip this slide, but we also organized some investment opportunity for the startups. So as I said in the beginning, we were working with Fast Track Action, who is based in Portugal, and they really organized matchmaking between investors and startups based on the stage of the startup and what investors was looking for. And so here are some results of 2 startups that achieved some really good results. So United Robots raised 1.5 million, and Music Cube was able to secure a mid-6-digit seed for equity funding. So that was really good for us. But if I can give some numbers, from the 60 startups we coached, 47 asked for investment. They were looking for investment, and 48 were able to get some matchmaking with investors. So that's a pretty good number. Some startups even got interest from several investors, or investors were looking to invest in several of our startups. So with that said, here is some feedback of our startup. If I can resume it, the thing that they enjoyed specifically was the one-to-one coaching process, the networking possibilities. They gained some vital business knowledge and product feedback through these coaching sessions. So these were really important. Also the fact that they could meet other startups that are in the same ecosystem as them, exchange, and sometimes even collaborate together to strengthen each other. So that was really beneficial for them. And then also the specific thematic workshops where they were able to improve themselves and really focus on some issues. So that is the presentation about Media Motor Europe. If you're interested in looking into our portfolio and the startups we coach, you can definitely find it on our website. And as I mentioned, it was finishing in December of this year, but we are still planning on using all the knowledge and the learnings that we have on future projects. So we're actually writing a future project and planning also to continue coaching in another form. But it's really learnings that we share with our partners within the Sunbox Hub and that we continue on using for our future. So thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce Suzanne from Sold by Slush, who will give a brief welcome to our event.
Yeah, hi everyone. So as it says there, I'm Susan Lempinen from Sold by Slush, so I'm the editor-in-chief. If you don't know, Sold by Slush is Slush's own European startup media. So kind of it serves the same purpose as Slush. It's all about helping and creating founders. So how we do that is we have our written content, so we have our articles, long form articles, and then we have our podcast as well. And yeah, as I said, it's all about serving the purpose of kind of giving tangible advice to founders, similarly as we do here at Slush. So we're quite happy to support this event today as well, given that Media Motor Europe is, doing the exact same thing with their kind of very tangible coaching program, and obviously with Future Media Hubs by their kind of collaboration, knowledge sharing. But I suppose I will not hold you off for longer. You have an interesting panel discussion coming up. So I'd just like to say a really warm welcome on behalf of me, Sold by Slush, and Slush. And I hope you'll have a really nice time at the event as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go now towards our panel. Teemu, you are General Manager at MyData Global, and you will be moderating this panel. So I'll let you introduce everyone, but thank you in advance. And the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. And while we're setting up, maybe I can ask the panelists to take a seat. And since we are a few minutes late, I'm just checking that we have the 30 minutes.
Okay. Do you want some water?
Yeah.
You can take them.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Teemu, Ropponen. I work as the General Manager of MyData Global. MyData Global is a international nonprofit that's headquartered in Finland. We work on the topic of personal data, so how can we give users more control over their personal data? And we realize that it's a matter both of fundamental rights, while at the same time we know that good, innovative digital services are based on the use of that data. How can we balance these out? On the panel, we talk not just about MyData, but data more broadly in the scope of media. We have a lot of ground to cover, lots of people on the panel in a short time. So as agreed, we keep our each comment rather short, and we hope also to get some questions from the audience, so just keep in mind on that. At the end, I will ask each panelist also what they take away from the others, so it's also a learning experience, not just let's pitch our point of view event. So let's take note of that. But first, in a Finnish style, so brief, short, but still in a proud way, maybe you can introduce yourself and at the same time say, what are you proud about in your work with media and data? And I start with you, Liisa. So go ahead. What a surprise, right?
Thank you. Somehow sticking out from the row. My name is Liisa Lundström, and I come from Mediametrics Finland, and actually also from Suomen tunnistautumisosuuskunta, Finnish Identification Cooperative, which is newly established tech co-op working on sharing data issues actually. Mediatech Finland is sharing data about media audiences together with Finnish media companies in Finland. And I'm practically proud of working in both of these because they are very practical examples of sharing data and creating new items around the data and trying to help the media manage also in future.
All right, thanks Liisa, and thank you for keeping it brief. I start from the other side, so Juho-Petteri, what about you?
Hello, my name is Huhtala, Juho-Petteri Huhtala, but it's much more easier for you guys to say JP, so hi everyone, pleasure to be here. I'm a researcher, postdoc researcher at Aalto University. I also hold 3 companies. I'm CEO of 3 companies, actually I'm quite busy. I develop complex algorithms to B2B context. I predict business cases over 1 million investments and so on and so forth. But going into this media industry and what I do there, I'm super proud that I am taking the data and technological responsibility to the table and discussion. So I'm here to flag on that.
Yeah, well, why don't we take it from there this way? So Jan, I'm glad you could make it, not from Finland, but coming from a little bit further away. It's your first
from the
time
south. Yeah, exactly. So hello, I'm Jan Vereecken, based in Belgium, and I work for Meeco. Meeco is a technology company working with personal data, and what I'm particularly proud at why I joined Meeco actually is I hope to stop that people stop treating data as sort of this new oil that needs to be refined, but that we treat it and give everyone in the chain a little bit of value and then provide better outcomes, like, and especially for my kids and the people that come after us. And nice to be here. It's quite cold, but
You get used to it.
I'm going to the sauna already.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, my name is Jaakko Lempinen. I come from Finnish public broadcaster Yle. I work there as head of customer experience. I've been fighting for better customer experience in media companies for the last 15, 16 years. Mostly been working with data and analytics, and also a little bit working with the AI part of the whole solution. I'm mostly proud that Yle currently, I think it's still one of the only public media companies and even public broadcasters in the world that are beating out Netflix in the streaming service. I think that's quite interesting that we have a service here in Finland and it's that popular. And yeah, great to be here. Great to meet you all.
Yeah, hey, I'm Jarno Kartela. I come from Thoughtworks, global head of AI advisory. And I think what I'm proud of is that I can actually start to see how we can create value with AI beyond the hype. So I think that's pretty cool.
All right, thank you. So we have excellent, smart panelists, and then you've got me. That's great. Let's just still warm up a little bit with a kind of perhaps a no-brainer, but still not a no-brainer in the sense that, Jan, you talked about, we're still stuck in data is the new oil, which is such an annoying sentiment, so to speak. But from the perspective of media companies, I'll ask 2 questions, and you still can be really short when you answer. But why is data important for media companies in the first place, and what are the opportunities and possible risks of being big on that data? Maybe we start from this way. So maybe you can.
Yeah. So I think the first question is: are we even using the data that we're collecting currently? I think not a lot of companies. And the other point is, does historical data actually tell us what customers want next? Which I think it's a difficult thing. Like, we have this idea that let's collect all of the data that we can from customers so that we can somehow intelligently serve them with a better experience. Yet we cannot say what we collected from them tells anything about the future. So I think we need a sort of mindset shift on how we use data and what's the value of it, and how do we use AI to sort of get value from data in the first place. So that's, I think that's one. The second one is the business perspective. Why does a media company collect data? Like, what's valuable data for a media company? A lot of media companies just collect like demographic information and information on like what people are browsing and looking at and consuming as content. But like, if you ask content creators what they would want to know, I think that's probably not it. So I think we're a bit missing the point there.
So we think it's too much of a silver bullet right now. That's one of the big risks.
Yeah, I think we got lost in the hype that we have to get data and we have to extract value from it, regardless of if it's actually meaningful for the business that we're in.
All right. So importance of data for media companies, opportunities and risks shortly.
That's
It's a big question for
easy
sure.
to answer from the media perspective. I think Jarno got quite many things right there. But I think we have to start from the part that media companies, they have used data, customer data, for a really long time. And we have collaborations with different, in Finland and globally, we have companies that they actually do really good panel data collection from audiences and customers, and quite freely even share the information with each other. That said, being kind of like a top level reach kind of data and the demographic data. But the problem is still that most of the media companies still are kind of built around products, being the content is the product and everything is built around the content. And I think that needs to be changed, that so that we start to understand actually customers and how customers behave in their lives and how content is kind of like relevant to them in their like everyday life, and what kind of decisions they make in their everyday life when they choose to, for example, do I watch broadcast TV or do I use streaming services and such. And the issue is also a bit because of that most of the data is being used to maybe only to understand one piece of content, not the content as a whole, so that we understand how one piece of content works and how maybe it even should be working, but we don't maybe necessarily understand how the content is related to all the other things what media companies do. So that we have a lot of things to do still in the area of data in that sense.
All right, and Jan, maybe you build on that and give us some concreteness as well.
I mean, when I hear like sort of the previous people talk, I try to envision more what it would mean from a user perspective, like the person that we want to extract, or not extract is the wrong word, but actually want to ask data from, and then I'm curious, okay, if we don't need historical data, then what do we need, and how can we start that conversation about what are maybe values or something like that, and be more open about it, and more and also allow that data to move on across different platforms, so that it maybe not in like if you found something really valuable, that maybe part of it can be given back to that person, and maybe they can decide to then take it elsewhere in the where it is possible, of course.
And we get to that in a second, but yeah, go ahead.
If I build on what Jaakko said and you continue from that, so I think the issue is from the media perspective that how to stay relevant for the future audiences in the future also, because currently people aren't, the young children level people aren't choosing between different medias. They are like taking new ways of getting news and knowing about the world, and we have to compete against all these phenomena which are coming to the market, and therefore it's even more to understand what is the relevant usage of content and how they shall do it, and we should be able to answer to that by studying the audiences and having data about the people. Then again, from the other side, not only audience data but the data in general, I think the future will need very agile development of different new services and products, and that's where the data sharing platforms are needed to be able to kind of cooperate, for example, big media companies with startups, so that they can share data and build new services and new products in an agile way, and that's what we are trying to help them to do.
All right. I want to comment on Jarno's point of view that the historical data is like not so valuable. It depends on the context, obviously. If you look at my parents, for instance, they turned 65, both of them. They are completely okay that they watch yet another Nordic noir series and it's recommended for them in that certain setting. It's fine. But there are many cases that actually history doesn't matter at all. And let's put this whole data into this Excel sheet and let's think about the columns and the rows. I think the focus is now too much on the, the masses of data, and we have multiple rows of something, yada yada yada, rather than thinking about that, are we actually collecting the right columns? Do we actually have the idea that what we are actually collecting there? And that's something that needs to be actually looked at in every single organization.
All right, so it's not the same for everybody. For some.
This is a typical academic answer that it depends on the context. Yeah.
It depends. In non-profits, we say it's problematic. There's some, not having something specific. But okay, we touched on a couple of mentions there about data sharing. So I just wanna go to that, and like get into the point that if we want to get things other than the historical data, then what type of data is it that would be interesting to media companies? And we get maybe later to the data sharing platforms, how to make it happen. But what kind of data is it that we really would need or want? And maybe I start this time with you, Jaakko.
And is there some kind of sharing question as well? And should we get it from somewhere else, or should we collect it by ourselves?
I'm asking that what kind of, all coming from outside of the media company, what kind of data would you appreciate having? And at the same time, is there perhaps a sentiment of giving that data back either to the user or perhaps sharing it back with other companies?
Yeah. This is a really good question, and I would like to start from the point of view of business cases. What would be the kind of what is the data point? What is it changing in our organization? For example, what information would we need more from audiences to make better content or make better services? And again, maybe it depends on from whom you are asking it. Like if I'm writing a news bullet that I got the information 10 seconds ago and I have to put the story out in 5 minutes, maybe there's not that much time for me to start to think to whom am I going to write this piece? But maybe it's something when we are planning a new Nordic noir, for example, series, and then we need to better understand why people consume this kind of content. What is the context? What is the environment? What's happening in their lives when they're consuming it, and what should happen maybe in the storyline? And there might be questions of their values, some kind of background information of those users. But again, that's something that we can collect from smaller audiences. We can do a research of that. I'm thinking what would be the information that we would need to make their services better? And for that purpose, I think it's mostly it should be in a dialogue, so that you understand why you are giving some information. For example, I'm using this on my mobile phone and I would like this to be served to me in this certain order, for example, and I don't want the algorithm to do this and this. I think that's the information what we want to get from the audiences, how do they want their experience being built, and not necessarily from the point of view of single data points, but from the experience point.
Sure. Okay. So what's the desire there? Now, Jan, I know that Meeco then is very into bridging data from different types of organizations. So just building on the question that what have you done in the media industry specifically, where you perhaps shared kind of media from media companies to other companies, or from other companies to media? Do you have some examples?
I think, our goal is to have data, and media is a form of data, and have that be controlled by the person where the data belongs to, and then decide let them decide if they want to share it, for how long they want to share it, and under which conditions that sharing is. And that's of course also driven by, in the European Union, by GDPR and the Data Governance Act and the Data Act and the AI Act, and I'm sure there will be many more, and that's just the European context. And then you also have, in the world, there are different regulations or initiatives. So I think that's a very important thing that I sometimes, I mean, just looking at my own personal opinions, like I'm a user of the VRT news website and their media platform, but I'm sure they ask me questions. Hey, can we track some things? But it's never like, okay, but what do you track now? What's somewhere there's records like Jan does this and that, but that's like provide more visibility, and maybe also like ask the questions. Maybe instead of mining, could it be like, can you ask? I've never had questions. What do you like to see? It's like, no, we'll not ask that question. We'll kind of defer it from everything that you do. So yeah, and we just want to enable that, and for an example of what we have done in a media platform is in a certain use case with children with special needs, and then have that like photos and videos, share that in sort of a secure way, because the parents are then rightfully like very worried that it can't be just stored on a cloud platform, and I'm sure it's encrypted, but yeah, I mean it never is, and yeah, like make that controllable and allow you to share that.
Sure, and the children's rights, of course, children's rights fundamental, and we talk a lot about AI and children, for example, even this week. But also there in the GDPR 2-year evaluation, that was one of the things that was highlighted as a kind of an issue that still needs resolving. So happy to hear about your work in that space. What about you?
I think what kind of data would be interesting to have. So it has been said that the historical data is perhaps not so valuable always, and we all know that the demographics doesn't explain the behavior very well. There are other issues. I think people would be willing to share data a lot more for the media also, if they would know how to share it and for what purposes is it needed. And then there becomes all the questions about trust. They can only share in a kind of trusted way. They don't want to be exploited in a wrong way, and that the data is everywhere in the internet. So I think the behavior and value and attitude data is the thing which will help us to develop the new services and the content. But how to collect that is the question, because it's very difficult to tell people that yes, you can trust on us and so on and so forth, and explain the data collecting context that this is how we are doing it.
And I wonder if JP can tell us that why does it take us 76 days per year if we want to read through the privacy policies? Why does it have to be so damn hard?
I'm curious also that why the hell we have it like that. Maybe this is because we are now steering our focus on customer experience. We have now here a head of customer experience here at Yle, for instance. We are talking about the buying experience and the consumption experience, but we are not yet in this kind of a sustainable experience area. We are shifting there later, and I'm going to publish about that. So don't steal my ideas.
So tell us like for dummies, sustainable experience. Sounds interesting. Tell me more.
So the main idea is that first we entered into this era of greenwashing, and we communicated a lot of our like sustainability issues and tactics and operations and yada yada yada. After that, we entered into this era of reporting sustainability, and now we are on that. We are talking about ESG and GRI and yada yada yada. But next step is now that we are getting like there. We are actually becoming as a sustainable organizations. Now we need to communicate it and design it so that people actually understand what we are doing, and that's the next era and next time. That means, for instance, that we are transparent in our data. We tell to our audiences that who are actually behind the algorithms, who is the guy, and what kind of frameworks and ideas there are, and that type of stuff. But it's upcoming. It's trending next.
Sure, Nainen.
Actually, we've been doing that quite a long time. So that everything like how algorithms work and who are the ones that are building it, we have been like exposing everything has been like told to the audiences. That being said, I think the problem is not the information. The problem is how do we like the design problem is how do we provide that information to the customers that they would actually value the information
and understand it, because
understanding, but still like what happens in my experience when I know something, or what should I know something? What should I know that to change my experience, for example? And I think that's like when we talk about the older, like your parents and how they use media, for example, to younger audiences. I think their capabilities to understand what actually is happening behind the front page. I think that's really good questions. How do you explain same thing to everyone in different way?
Yeah, maybe on the, because I see that I'm a bit of a heretic with historical data. Doesn't like everyone has now touched based on it. So my point maybe is not that we shouldn't collect data per se, but like if you think about media, that it's this interaction between customers and content and customers and platforms, mostly in a digital environment, it gives us the possibility to learn about customers at scale. If we would do controlled exploration, like what titles, what artwork, what pieces of content, what slots, so on and so on and so on, you have millions and millions of decision points at any given time on a digital platform, yet you only focus on one piece of personalization, yet you focus on only getting customer data out within a specific way. What if we try to take all of these decision-making points and learn something from them? Because you're not only learning from customers, you're learning about the interaction between a customer and between a decision-making points. So you can decide, do I want to know more about the customer or the decision-making point, about the content, about the title, about the artwork, about the piece of like whatever. So you have two dimensions, and so I'm rooting for, let's have less customer data and much more valuable interaction data.
JP, go ahead.
Yeah, actually how we approach this with many organizations is that we track the customer journey first of all, and there's a lot of touch points that we could actually manipulate and do these mock-ups and A/B testing, yada yada yada, whatever. But the idea is that to simplify this to organization and actually make some changes that actually matters, is that we use this peak point idea. Although it ruins the whole idea of the experience first place, because we are just focusing on certain touch points and enhancing them. But we try to understand which of these are actually the game changers from the audience's perspective, which are the most valuable ones, and let's at least be good at those in the first place and gather data out of those.
Okay, and I'll hold my questions just for a moment. We have about 5 or so minutes left. I would love to get some questions actually from the audience instead of me, so yes, sir.
Okay.
And I will repeat your question just so we get it then on the video better, because there's a mic here.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So probably mainly for the YLE guy.
Yeah.
So I work in a communications agency, but I'm listening to this discussion as a user of free services offered me in exchange of my data. And of course the American big companies do what they like and we can't do anything about it, but there are two aspects that I would like to have from organizations like yours. So if I give you data, it's a UX thing. I would every now and then would be happy to sort of like, hey, like a yes/no thing. Can we share your data with some organizations outside our own? And then yes/no, and then you stick to my decision. But then when I use your service, and this I think applies to all kinds of things, from software to media, and why on earth are you, or not only you, but why on earth is everybody showing me all the stuff all the time? I make some choices, and you can probably guess that I'm interested in sports, good movies, not stand-up comedy and stuff like that. And I see everything Every time I go to Arena and I use it a lot, and it's a great service. But I would really like to, for example, if I use Word, I use for text editing, I use like 10 things in there and nothing else. Why doesn't it get gray or do something like that? Or make my experience more pleasant for me?
All right.
Because time is a limited resource.
Thank you, sir. So time is a limited resource, so the question was, how do we not flood the user with unnecessary content, and how do we occasionally validate, do you want to share data with external organizations? We start from Jaakko. I have a guess that everybody's going to want to have a quick, short comment on this.
I'll try to be really quick on the answers. We're working on the sharing part at the moment. What Liisa was talking about, the tunnistautumispalvelu, there's going to be a solution for that in upcoming year. The other part being, next year. The second part, with floating of the, I totally agree with you. We need to do much more better with the personalization part of our services. We are still kind of struggling to be a broadcaster in a streaming service or be a streaming service with the different kind of content, kind of issues. And but from my point of view, the direction is on the personalization part. How fast do we get there? That's a really good question. I hope that faster than slower, if that helps in any way. But we're working on that all the time.
Take one quick comment and then a quick wrap-up round, but was there somebody who wanted to add on to Jaakko's? Liisa, you look like...
Perhaps, yeah, because about actually as an answer to both, so I think this, that's the data sharing part, is that you can, although that could be perhaps better within the Yle service also, but only when you can kind of share the media experience from different companies, so you really get the best recommendation services also, because then you don't get kind of a narrow view for the person. And we do try to do that in that way that they really ask, do you want to share the data? And try to help you to understand also that you will get something against it, sharing the data. And you can anytime say that stop sharing the data. That's what we are trying to build with the new Suomen tunnistautumisosuuskunta, but it's only started this autumn. So.
Thank you. Now, just to wrap up, I said that in the beginning that, okay, I asked each of you, like, what have we learned, or what was something interesting that another person said. Catch your breath and just think about it, and just with one sentence, because we're really out of time, starting from JP, head this way. What comment did you appreciate, or what was your key takeaway from
information overflow, but in top of mind, I'm thinking that, wow, Jaakko said that we are already doing this or handling this responsibility experience and stuff like that. I want to collaborate with these guys and study how you do that, and what's the progress and what's the result and impact.
Super. There's a networking session after this. Yes, we continue. Liisa, go ahead.
I really liked your idea of how to kind of help also those people who are not with standard knowledge and capabilities equipped, so that we can do the services so that they serve everybody in the data sharing context also.
Inclusion, right?
Yeah,
and
inclusion,
the diversity tech there. Yeah, thanks.
Maybe what I took away is that we might not need a lot of data from the customer or the users to provide them the same or even a better experience. That's always nice.
I really like the whole decision thinking that we should maybe put more focus on that part, not necessarily only maybe don't ask too complex questions, maybe try to find the better solutions.
Yeah, and I, like maybe backing JP on like what are the columns that we're looking at? What is the business that we're in? Is I think asked way too rarely, especially in media.
You talked well, you also listened well, and I really appreciate the last round. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Thank you for joining us. Jan, you can stay with us if you want, because you are pitching up next.
How long are you pitching? Yeah.
Hello, I'm I already introduced myself, so I'm Jan. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Meeco, and Meeco is a technology company founded in 2012 with a mission to provide everyone on the planet equity and value in exchange for the data they share. And this big vision is all around personal data, personal tokens. And we want to, we are a technology company and we want to solve 3 big problems. And the first one is help organizations comply with data regulations. So all of these GDPR and they're evolving. So how do you keep up and how do you comply with that? And yeah, if you could just the middle slide is fine. And then the second big problem is how can we minimize data abuse? Everyone, almost weekly in the news, you hear about some company who has a data breach and a lot of customer data is lost. So how can these companies improve security so that this doesn't happen? And the third big problem that we want to solve, and maybe that's really relevant, I think, to the discussion that we just had, is how can we get more value when we're actually exchanging that data. So while so those were the 3 problems, and how we do it is by giving organizations and the tools and services to allow their customers to access, control, and exchange personal data and tokens. So an access is all about making it easy to get access to certain data wherever it might be stored. Control is all about having fine-grained tools in place so that you can actually decide at a very fine-grained level what you want to share, improve the security, improve privacy, data minimization. And then the last is about exchange. So how can you share, and that's what Teemu said, how can you share data with others in a secure way. And we have 4 products to do that. The first one is it's flickering. Yeah, just you can turn it off. That's fine.
Technology sometimes.
So the 4 products are the Vault, which is a secure data vault. It's an API. It can store all kinds of data, really big files, really small pieces of data. It's end-to-end encrypted, so that means as soon as it leaves the device or the control of the user, it's encrypted with only a key that user controls. And then that user can manage that. So when we talk about encryption, you inevitably end up talking about encryption keys, so you need a place to store them. So that's the second product, the key store. And then we have 2 sort of maybe newer or products that serve a very new technology, which is around decentralization. And the first one, which everyone can download or is available on the Apple Store and the Play Store, is the Meeco wallet. So that allows you to control your identifiers, decentralized identifier is called, and verifiable credentials. And also allows you to control tokens. And then the last product is the Secure Value Exchange, and that's a marketplace where the 3 protagonists, which is the user, which is called the holder, and then usually there's someone who wants to rely on information, and there is someone who can attest to information, for example, proving that you are who you say you are, or that you can do the thing that you say you can do. And that they can come together and on this marketplace and start exchanging, because usually nobody wants to give something for free. So yeah, that's what we do.
Thank you very much, and sorry for the technical
no worries.
problems. I hope that for you it will
Let's try with yours and see. It works. Great. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Quentin Felice, and I'm the co-founder and head of growth of DataVillage. So with DataVillage, we aim to create a decentralized network of personal data that is directly sourced by the consumers themselves. Our mission is actually to put those consumers in control of the data they create on a daily basis using digital services to create an ecosystem of partners around them. So briefly, we are a team with quite seniority, a bunch of data engineers, data scientists, and software engineers. Myself, I have about 10 years experience as a tech entrepreneur, but also intrapreneur, and my co-founder, Frederick, has been around the financial industry for the past 20 years as enterprise architect. And actually, Frederick and myself, we met a few years ago in a big bank in Belgium. We were leading the IT innovation department of this bank, and we were actually spending more time fighting with legal department over getting access to personal data than doing our job, meaning innovation. And actually today companies struggle big time when it comes to get access to personal data. And this is mainly due to 3 reasons. The first one is that enterprise architectures are designed in silos, making it very difficult for the data to flow. The second one is that people are more reluctant today to share personal data after major privacy scandals, such as the infamous Cambridge Analytica. And the last but not least is that we are in a more and more restrictive regulatory environment, with privacy laws such as GDPR popping up everywhere in the world. But actually, we decided to see GDPR as an opportunity. And we have conceptualized the digital profile of the consumers, meaning a way for you and I to actually claim effectively control over the data that you produce. But not only, also a way to organize this data to make it meaningful, to make it informative about who you are. We also provide companies with a way to actually connect the digital profile of their customers to their platform so they can hyper-personalize the digital experiences without having to collect the data in their own system, with the data remaining on the user side. So basically, this is a very practical example of a use case we have co-created with VRT that we are live piloting through Stadium as we speak. Of hyper-personalization, and I think it's a good follow-up with the previous discussion, of hyper-personalization of an OTT platform, of a streaming platform of the VRT, through using the digital profile of the end user. So basically, as a user, I'm being asked to if I want to personalize my digital experience and get personalized content. Then it triggers what we call that data passport, meaning a way for the end user to basically easily connect its digital profile to the platform. Then the user is being asked to enrich its digital profile with relevant data sources, in this case, what I like on Facebook, what I'm listening to on Spotify, or what I watch on Netflix, for instance, which makes sense in the context of an OTT platform. Then as a user, I can activate the data sources that I would like, and I give my consent, my explicit consent, to use those data sources in order actually to get better recommendation on this very specific platform. So I know what the purpose of the usage of the data. Then I come back to the original experience and I'm being proposed suggestions of media content based on my actions on other platforms, such as I mentioned, what I like on Spotify, for instance. And I'm being explained also why I'm receiving those recommendations based on my actions. We also provide the users with a way to follow up on what is being done with their own digital profile and who is using the digital profile, and revoke the access to it at any time. The user always remains in control, not only of the data, but also of the digital profile. Users can also adopt new data sources or take away data sources that they activated in the past for specific purposes. And last but not least, users are being given a personal data store, meaning some sort of personal database that in this case we are using Google Drive, could be my Dropbox, but could also be specific personal data stores like SolidPod for those who knows, or DataVillage from Meeco could also be. So in a nutshell, we improve product personalization without the need for big data. It's actually quite the opposite. We are talking about small data here. A one-to-one relationship in between the company and the user with having the data on the user side, which increases the trust since the data is not in the company system and dramatically reduces the compliance cost of the company since DataVillage platform is taking care of the entire data life cycle. So today we are mainly focusing with our technology of digital profiles within the media industry, but we are also diversifying in other industries like the financial industry and the healthcare industry. We are creating use cases for those different industries, but also cross-industries use cases. We are mainly focusing on Europe since we are leveraging upon GDPR and the fact that every consumer has the right to claim control over the data. But we are looking forward overseas, for instance, with the advent of CCPA in the United States or LGPD in Latin America. Today, our product maturity is at live piloting and demonstration level. As I mentioned, we are live piloting it as we speak with RTBF and VRT in Belgium, and looking forward to expand it in other countries as well. Thank you for listening. We are DataVillage. Yes. Sorry. Oh, that's yours. And mine is here.
Okay, thanks a lot to both of the startups, and thank you everyone for joining, for sticking around, and feel free to grab a cookie or a muffin and have a drink and chat with whoever is left, and enjoy the rest of your days in here at Slush. Thank you.
I mentioned you.